Hello, and welcome to the online church service from Life Church Austria. It's so lovely that you're here with us today and that you're celebrating with us. Absolutely. We're really looking forward to the time that we get to spend together with you. My name is David, and this is my wife, Steffi. Hi! We're from the Life Church in Mortal, which is in Styria, so from the real green heart of Austria. For us as a church, one of our biggest desires is that people get to know and experience God for how He really is and how He thinks about you. And God thinks absolutely good things about you. The beautiful thing is that He's not complicated and that He'd like to draw close to us. We read in the Bible time and time again that God is near to those who seek Him. And we really like to invite you to be fully present, to concentrate on the service, and to be expectant to experience Him speaking personally to you. And hey, when you have friends or family who you think they've got to see this, then simply send them this link now and use this opportunity to invite them to the service. And say, hey, here's something that will be good for you. Exactly. We'll soon hear a brilliant message from Margit from Life Church Vienna. She's speaking today about how everyday life counts, and that your daily life is important, so we're already looking forward to it, and you can be excited. Should you want to look up the online services during the week or have additional encouraging inputs to watch, then subscribe now to our YouTube channel. There you can have a look at our online services and, for example, our life impulses, which are there to watch. The life impulses are short, encouraging inputs for every day. However, before we come to the sermon from Margit, we'd like to worship together with Lisa and Amy and direct our focus upon the one who accepts and embraces us just as we are and who loves us unconditionally. Feel free to just be who you are. You can stand up, sing along, dance. You can, however, also quite simply listen and enjoy.
Wir wollen euch jetzt einladen, mit uns Songs zu singen. Songs, die von Gott erzählen, wer er ist, wie er ist und was er uns bedeutet. Und eine dieser Zeilen, die wir jetzt singen werden, heißt: Ich muss nichts beweisen, darf einfach nur sein. Und wie oft ist es irgendwie so in unserem Leben, dass wir jemand anderen was beweisen wollen oder einfach auch uns selbst. Und das Schöne und Besondere ist aber bei Gott, dass wir zu ihm kommen können, so wie wir sind. Wir müssen nichts beweisen, wir dürfen einfach nur sein. Und ich möchte jetzt einladen, komm einfach so, wie du bist, mit deinem großen, mit deinem kleinen Rucksack, mit deiner Freude, mit deiner Sorge, mit vielleicht Dingen, die dich einfach beschäftigen, zu Gott und sei vor ihm, wie du bist, weil da darfst du sein. jetzt mir gehst und für immer bleibst. Das Leben ist schön. Nichts kann mir geben, was du mir gibst. Das Leben ist schön. Bist einfach stärker als jeder Sturm. Das Leben ist schön. Mit dir, das Leben ist schön. Du belebst und inspirierst, du erfährst die Freude in mir. Es geht weiter, die große Reise, und das Beste liegt noch vor uns. Du belebst und inspirierst, du erwächst die Freude in mir. Es geht weiter, die große Reise, und das Beste liegt noch vor uns. Das Leben ist schön mit dir. 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 Das Leben ist schön. Königlich strahlt dein Licht. Du bist ewiglich, niemand kommt dir gleich.
you're here with us today for this online service. I believe that God would like to build you up and inspire you. Do you know why? Because He knows you. Because right from the start, He had you in His eyes. You're His idea, He likes you, and He sees the situation you're in. And today I have the opportunity to bring some words to you. My name is Margit, I live in Vienna, but actually I come from South Tyrol and normally speak a little differently, namely in a dialect. If you'd like to find out a little more about this dialect, then stay till the end, where there'll be a little short quiz, Tyrolean made easy for young and old. I had for a long time in my life the feeling that I was determined by external factors, that the circumstances, the crises, the situations in my life governed me. I often had the feeling everything that I'm allowed to expect, everything that I plan or that I do or I don't do, or anything that I dream or don't dream of, that they're affected by these circumstances. And I had the feeling that was a central focus of my life. And then I had this moment and I was able to come into this process where I discovered that the circumstances aren't the central focus of my life, but that Jesus would like to be the focus. And that with Him, I have a new approach, that I can have new dreams, that I'm allowed to expect good things, to expect really great things and really great experiences. And in my concrete case, the case was that it was illness that never went away, and it's still here even today. And I think it's the same for some of us today. We have again and again times where there's difficulties with crises. Sometimes life is more normal, less normal. We have great changes. It's not always illnesses. Sometimes it's sorrow, grief, losing your job. Sometimes it's difficulties with your kids or financial problems, divorce, different breakups. There's so many different things that we're confronted with in life. And sometimes I think, okay, what is normal? And we react very differently in these situations. Sometimes we complain endlessly. Sometimes we just feel sorry for ourselves. Sometimes we doubt. Sometimes we feel helpless and we're running from A to B to Z in order to somehow feel active and self-assured, because the helplessness is so great. It's a bit like blind actions, just doing things for the sake of doing things. Sometimes we're just going around in circles with why questions, why me, why now? And sometimes we sink our head in the sand, don't want to see anything, don't want to hear anything until everything's under control. But I believe and I think it's normal that we react like this. But I want to encourage you today to break out of these things. It's like when you're in a valley or you're in a desert surrounded by these situations or circumstances, then you don't want to stay stuck there. You want to come through the desert and come out of the valley. But this pattern of sinking your head in the sand or complaining or going round in circles with the why question, you don't come out of it. And you're missing the moments that are in the middle of these strange situations. You miss the chance. And maybe, at the end, or once this thing is gone, then something is waiting for you that is better. But sometimes we don't even reach there because we're stuck. And I have 3 points today that I think are going to help us. Not to stay stuck, to see the chances, to grab those chances. And that's what it's going to be about in the next few minutes. And my first point is, My time is now. Your time isn't sometime when you're, married, when everything's good, when you're in retirement, when you're finally married, when you're finally a mother or father. No, your time is now. Your time isn't when you just wait for everything to be normal and good, but your time is now. Paul wrote in chapter 13, verse 11. Wake up, for your salvation is nearer now than when we were first believed. It's time for you to wake up out of this sleep. Do you know that you're now? There's something that is hidden there that's just right for now. For example, so in autumn, I bought some bulbs, flower bulbs, and I thought, I'm going to put them aside. I'll plant them, and then in spring, I will be able to plant them, and then I'll have flowers in spring. But I forgot about them, and, I was too lazy. To be honest, I kind of hoped that my housemate would do it for me. Sometimes we do that. We put the responsibility on someone else and hope that they'll deal with it. And then it meant that in spring I had no flowers. And hey, there's something here right now that you should plant that you can harvest later. That you should be able to see something now which you can plant, which can bloom later and flower later. And it could be that you can really enjoy something in the middle of the situation, in the middle of your crisis, in the middle of these less normal times. And it could be that there's something now that you could harvest, something that you've really been planting, and that now is the time to harvest. Hey, now is the time. And for some of you, I believe, it's time to get out of your jogging bottoms, stand up, get up off the couch, and use your time. Your time is now. And if that's really true, and I really believe that it's your time now, not sometime in the future, that this waiting time, you just, this whole thinking of, I'm going to wait until these circumstances are finally over, then I think you're missing out on something. I believe that actually there's something in every day, and that every day counts. I believe, everything that you do daily, the people that you spend time with, the kids that we're investing in, our relationships, our friendships, in the churches where we're active, everything that we do daily, that it's not a waste of time, that it's actually something special. Paul, he also wrote something again in Romans, and he said that our whole lives can be a holy and living sacrifice. Our daily lives are the things that we eat, our sleep, our work. When we're on our way to somewhere, we can give that to God. He doesn't want to just be with us or at work when we're on holiday. He's with you in your daily life. Each and every day counts when you think about it. How much time we spend with these daily things. Sometimes I could think, okay, if I'm keeping my flat tidy and clean, if I'm helping my kids for hours with their homework, when I'm thinking about, okay, being single, when I'm spending time with my friends, and when I'm going over the same thing with them 10 times over and over again, then it's maybe a waste of time. But actually, I believe that there's no time which is wasted. Your daily life is not a waste. Your daily life counts, and each day that lies before you has a certain potential and possibilities within it. And in every day, there's that for you to discover. It's not always big things, but sometimes it's just these daily things, to practice thankfulness and not to complain, to have an ear for a friend. These daily things in being friendliness and being with people to practice that, and to comfort one another and not to go to bed in, having argued. In Ephesians chapter 5, we read the following, verses 15 and 16. So be careful how you live. Don't live like fools, but like those who are wise. Make the most of every opportunity in these evil days. This is interesting. The writer from this letter expects that we are living in evil days. And it is sometimes really hard, and we're living through bad times. But God made this world, and He'll never turn away from us, because everything that He created includes me and you. But we find ourselves in these times of tension where there's a lot of terrible things going on and a lot of ugly things. And God says, we should be wise and we should be clever and use the time as best as we can. And that, we shouldn't waste our time. And I think there's so many examples in the Bible where people did that in the Bible. So David, for example, he made the most of his times. In the Old Testament, he was young before he was king. And there was the Philistines, and they wanted to fight against the Israelites. And David was a shepherd at the time, and he looked after the sheep. And his father had asked him, as the youngest, to do something for him. To bring a snack for the older brothers and him. And David brought the snack to his brothers. I think he was quite impressed by what he saw and was quite excited. And he asked, what is the reward when someone kills or defeats Goliath? And Goliath was one of the biggest enemies, and he was really tall, really big, and everyone was fearful of him. And David heard, okay, whoever defeats him, they will then get the king's daughter as his wife, and a little bit of money, not too little. And then he went to Saul the king, and he said, hey, I'm going to defeat him. And Saul looked at him, and I think he probably asked himself, okay, what's this young guy doing here? And then David convinced him by what he's been up to in his everyday life. Every moment which he's been practicing how to be a shepherd, how he's protected the sheep from the lions and the bears, that he defeated them, and how he fought against them. And then, Saul thought, okay, I'll let David go into the fight then. David used this chance. He grabbed this chance from something that he'd experienced every day, that he'd learned from. And then he thought, now's my time. I've experienced that every day. I've practiced in this. Now I'm going to grab the chance. Saul wanted to give him his armor. David checked and was like, no, that's way too heavy. That just doesn't suit me. It's not going to fit me. He took his shepherd stick, something that he knew from his daily life. He grabbed those stones and he defeated Goliath with his sling and those stones. From David, we can learn that he grabbed the chance, or he took the chance from what he'd learned from his daily life. This gave him the chance to take this opportunity. And the question is, what can we take from our daily life and experience, and what chances can we use, or what chances are on offer to us, to realize the times that we're in and to take the chances. And in the Old Testament, the word time was used or determined by two different words, either with chronos or with the word kairos. So chronos, that describes the time that runs on, when someone asks, what time is it? And kairos, this describes this special moment, or these moments, chances, instances, these possibilities. And David had this kairos moment, this special moment where he sees, hey, every day of my life counts. All the things that I've done up to now, I can apply now. And we find so many examples in the New Testament of people who used and realized, hey, this is my moment. In the middle of these difficult circumstances, even when I don't have everything under control, even when everything's not exactly beautiful around me, when they're confronted with all these different situations, they nevertheless made the most of these situations. For example, Zacchaeus, he knew Jesus was there, but in a big crowd, and he thought, I'm small, but you know what? I'm going to climb this tree just to see Jesus. And Jesus realized this. Why shouldn't he realize it? He realized everything Jesus did. And Jesus said, hey, Zacchaeus, I'm coming to your house today for dinner. And Zacchaeus said, okay. The lady with the bleeding, and she thought, just a touch, I can be healed despite the crowds. And there was this man who was hoping that he could be healed on his mat. He only had him and his mat, and he thought, if someone could just carry me, I could be healed. And then he experiences a really special moment, and Jesus encounters him in a really supernatural way, and it may have been different from what he expected. Peter, who disowned Jesus, maybe he thought he can never again, get that in order. He was confronted with his personal crisis. He just couldn't come to terms with the fact of what he'd said, these feelings of shame, just feeling terrible about himself. And he realized, oh, Jesus really is there on the lake. And he used this chance, and he, went to Jesus to be with him for a few minutes. Then there's Mary. Instead of working, she decided to sit at the front feet of Jesus. And my question to you today is, in your crisis, in your circumstances, in your strange situations, in times where you're confronted with change, and sometimes you think you're just stuck in the valley and you're not getting out of there. Hey, can you see that every day counts? That your all day, every day life is important, not just the special days. That you can make things possible today. Can you see that it's your time today in the midst of all of these things? And I'd like to encourage you, keep going, don't give up. God has got more for you. More than your circumstances, more than your crises, more than these strange situations that you find yourself in. God has something there for you. And sometimes I think, when we're in the valley, we have to let ourselves realize the moments and let let us look around for these moments that God has for us. Maybe it's a moment like Roman preached about, not just to let things, pass you by, but to zoom in. Sometimes there's moments to invest in our relationships, in our friendships, in our marriage, in the relationships with our kids. Sometimes there's time to let go of things, or to become more thankful for things, or to discover a new love of being around people, but maybe to discover a new love for yourself. Or perhaps there's, in the middle of these circumstances, lies the chance to get to encounter Jesus in a fresh way, to experience him really closely to you. Sometimes I ask myself, if we're just waiting for these difficult circumstances to pass us by until everything's more normal or good, because that's how we know things. But hey, if we realize that every day counts, that our time is now, and we use the time now and these moments right now, and we grab those to experience the new thing that God has for us and the chances that we have here. And to close, I would love to invite you, maybe you don't know Jesus yet, but you'd like to be nearer to him and maybe have him as the central focus of your life, then I'd love you to pray with me. I believe that's an important decision, perhaps the most important decision in your life. For me, it was the most important anyway. And I want to invite you in this moment to use this Kairos moment to make this decision. And I'm going to pray. You can pray with me. The prayer will be in the video description. You can close your eyes. Sometimes that helps us to concentrate if you'd like to. Thank you, God, that wherever I am, you're also there, and that you never leave my side. From today, I'd like to get to know you more and more. I'd like to have you at my side. You are the source out of which I live and receive strength. I would like to have you at the center of my life. Amen. We have a song now for you, and with that, we'd like to declare goodness over you and your life. We'd like to simply declare goodness over every circumstance, into every situation, at each crisis, over every normal or not so normal situation. Enjoy.
Der Herr segne dich und behüte dich. Lass sein Angesicht leuchten, sei gnädig mit dir. Sein Angesicht sei dir zugewandt, Friede mit dir.
Lord turn his face toward you. Wow, thank you, Margit, for your brilliant message and for sharing it with us. Yeah. If that spoke to you, what Margit explained, or maybe you prayed that prayer with her, then we'd really like to encourage you to contact us. Simply write to us at contact@lifechurch.at. We'd really love to hear from you, and if you'd like to make a step towards knowing God, we really want to celebrate that with you. Exactly. If we can support you in prayer, that means if you have any prayer requests, then simply write to us. You'll find all the info for that in the video description, and we'd really love to pray for you. Precisely. A part of our Life Church culture is to be generous. Generous? Why? Simply because it's our response to what God has done for us. In John 3:16, it says, "For God loved the world so much that he gave his one and only Son for us." And investing our talents, our time, our finances into the kingdom of God are simply a response to all that what God has done for us. So you can now take the time to invest in your local Life Church congregation. If you're part of another congregation or church, then give to the church where you are. There's also the opportunity to invest directly into Life Church Austria. All the information related to giving you'll find displayed below and also in the video description. And dear family, each week before the church service on Saturdays, we have our Life Family time for you and for your kids, with brilliant input, brilliant creative ideas, and cool clips. So definitely take a look. And just like Margit mentioned earlier, if you stay a little bit longer, right at the end there is a crash course in South Tyrolean still to come. So simply stay seated a little longer and let the video roll on. To close, we'd love to pray together. Father, we thank you for this online church service and for every person who came and watched. We speak out a blessing over the week, over our daily lives, that you're with us, and that we speak out that these chances arise and that you help us to recognize them and take hold of them. Father, I thank you for us and for our lives. I thank you for each day that you gift us, and I pray that we will recognize more and more that every day is a gift from you. And I ask that you take us each day by the hand, no matter whether it's challenging or wonderful time, that you go with us, and that, like David already said, that you show us where the opportunities are in each day. Amen. Amen. So good to have you with us today, and we'll see you next week. Bye.